I'm about to introduce another champion. The legacy lives on. This young man is a fighter like his daddy. He comes from a strong heritage. He's a lion. He's a warrior. But most importantly, he's a PLP. Help me make me welcome Mr. Bradley Obie Roberts.
They can't keep a good man down. Always keep a smile when they want me to frown. Keep the vibes and I stood my ground. They will never ever take my crown. Oh, Jah bless, I say no man good.
PLPs? PLPs? PLPs. I stand on the established protocol. Fellow delegates, responding to a call of action has been the mantra of the PLP. This is why I'm inspired to be a PLP. Are you inspired that your PLP was responsible for all of the initiatives and public institutions that compromised our modern Bahamas? Your PLP established the College of the Bahamas and renewed that mandate with the University of the Bahamas. Your PLP established the National Insurance Board and renewed that mandate with the establishment of the first phase of NHI. I am proud of our public school scholarship program that expanded the college education opportunities to thousands of Bahamians that otherwise would not have this important opportunity. That too was a call to action, fellow delegates. Food security is a national security, so your PLP established BAMSI as an institution through which the national development metric could be achieved. Your PLP responded to labor concerns with the establishment of the National Training Agency and the autonomous PTVI that has trained thousands of Bahamians to date. This was in addition to the execution of this was in addition to executing over 12 industrial agreements during our last term in office. Our next mandate and vision for the National Training Agency is the retraining of our mature workers in preparation to entry into the new areas of our national economy. Our call to action added 39,505 jobs to the national economy. Our call to action on Bahama has saved this economy, while this F&M fought tooth to nail to undermine that project. If you are proud of our glorious legacy, then you must tell the story and must be the protectors of our progressive and rich history. In stark contrast, fellow delegates, this F&M government has distinguished itself as a party of self-dealing, inside dealing, and conflict of interest, even as much as unwittingly admitting to driving the joblessness through its failed policies. No fewer than 5 substantive government ministers has come forward and publicly defended and endorsed the wrongdoing, that is the Town Center Mall lease agreement. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, Deputy Prime Minister Peter Turnquest, former Minister Brent Simonet, Public Service Minister Brenzel Rowe, Transport Minister Renwick Wells have all publicly condoned this blatant act of self-dealing, inside dealing, and conflict of interest. To add insult to injury, the Speaker of the House ruled to prevent any House member from mentioning the Town Center Mall lease. Why the cover-up? When will the lease agreement be released for the public to scrutinize and critique? So much honesty, so much for honesty, transparency, and an accountable F&M government.
Keep the F&M out. Out. And stay out.
Both the Prime Minister and Brent Simonet knowingly misled Parliament on this lease. Brent publicly confessed that there was a conflict of interest and asked the Prime Minister how he intends to fix it. We all know that the infamous House resolution was a bald-faced lie. Misleading the Parliament is an impeachable and dismissible offense. The Prime Minister has failed to act, deepening the crisis of a public trust that hangs like an albatross around the neck of the menaced government. He has lost the moral authority to effectively govern this country. I call on all Bahamians to leave no stone unturned in our quest to rid this country of this hapless, lawless, incompetent, and corrupt F&M government. I remind all and sundry that we are all governed by laws, policies, conventions, and no man or woman is above those laws. The laws, policies, conventions exist to contain and restrain the behavior of all citizens, including our leaders. When a leader places himself above the law without consequences, lawlessness and corruption are fomented, and tyranny and anarchy are sure to follow. Fellow delegates and Bahamians everywhere, we cannot and must not allow our country to descend into an ungovernable, despotic, third-world banana republic. We are not become an international pariah, relegated to public scorn, ridicule, rebuke, and the butt of every evil and sleazy joke. It would strike at the heart, soul, and root of our international reputation and national identity, and especially our national pride. The Obie head of agreement signing ceremony was a fraudulent and a farce. The Prime Minister misled Parliament on the Obie deal. The Prime Minister, self-reported cabinet subcommittee concluded that the government broke the law in its handling of Obie. Who would forget his two ministers who were traditionally condemned, but continue to serve as cabinet ministers and legislators with impunity? The Bahamian people have quit holding their breath on the results of a promised investigation in the BPL board. What about the promised investigations into the cause of the multiple fires at Clifton Clear, Blue Hills, and the Bimini power plants? These fires have caused taxpayers at least $100 million in damages. Who was held accountable for these fires? And what actions were taken to safely protect those public assets from damages and destruction in the future? Labor relations have deteriorated to an all-time low over the past 2 years, with little to no action by this government to protect the livelihood of Bahamian workers. The lame attempt by this government to resuscitate this ailing economy of Grand Bahama has failed to date. Bahamians today continue to leave that island in search of jobs and other economic opportunities elsewhere. Fellow delegates, I could go on and on about examples of breach of public trust, malfeasance, and cover-ups by this Finnish-led F&M government, but time does not permit.
Bring the water, hold the torch, tell the F&M we can't take this no more.
We must stand firm and resolute in our repudiation and our condemnation of this administration and its official conduct. We must ensure that the F&M pays a severe political price for these political sins that they are hoping that we conveniently may forget. For our part, fellow delegates, we must remain united and connected to our communities. We must craft the way forward for a better, fairer, and more prosperous Bahamas with the input of our people. We must protect our territorial borders, protect Bahamian jobs, and cause for greater ownership and participation of Bahamians in our Bahamian economy. Fellow delegates, economic patriotism is a must and is important as we move forward. Our work is far from done, fellow delegates. We must emerge from this convention stronger, more unified, with a greater sense of national purpose, commitment, and appreciation for the equitable distribution of our country's bountiful resources through the instruments of public policy and public service. No Bahamian should be left behind, as they are equal stakeholders in this Commonwealth we dearly love and cherish. We must therefore reject cronyism, special interests, as harmful to our national development. With the coalition of experience, youth, and abroad competencies, we must assemble the right and best team to drive the equitable and sustainable growth of our Bahamas. We must not become weary in doing right for our people. Are you on board the SSPLP? We are off the reef. We have weathered the worst of the treacherous storms. We are ship shape, and we are seaworthy, and we are out to sea. Our next port of call is victory at the polls. Are you ready for a victory, PLPs? Are you ready for the hard work, dedication, and commitment to the interests of the Bahamian people? I know you are, and so am I. Let's stay united and around our core principles of social and economic justice. Let's stay together because we are stronger together. God bless you and good